Ever wonder why society holds us to such high standards of perfection? It's a thought that crosses our minds, a question that lingers in our subconscious. We live in a world that's constantly evolving, and with it, societal norms and expectations evolve too. The bar of perfection keeps inching higher, and we're left scrambling, trying to reach it. It's a race that never ends, a pursuit that never ceases. Let's look around. We're surrounded by images and ideas of what perfection should look like. The flawless skin, the impeccable physique, the ideal career trajectory, the perfect relationship. It's everywhere, in advertisements, on social media, in films, and even in our everyday conversations. We're subtly conditioned to strive for this level of perfection, and anything less feels like a failure. But let's pause and think. Are these standards realistic? Can we all have flawless skin, a perfect body, an enviable career, and a fairy tale relationship? It's a tall order, isn't it? The pressure of conforming to these standards can be overwhelming. It can create a sense of inadequacy, a feeling of never being good enough. Moreover, the notion of perfection is subjective. What's perfect for one might not be for another. Yet, we're expected to fit into these one-size-fits-all standards. It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. It's not just unfeasible, it's unfair. We're all unique, with our strengths and weaknesses, our successes and failures, our joys and sorrows. Our imperfections make us human, they make us real. They add depth to our personality, they make our story interesting. We're not assembly line products, we're individuals with our unique attributes. So, why do we let societal expectations dictate our worth? Why do we let the fear of not being perfect hold us back? It's time to question, it's time to reflect. Perfection is an illusion, it's a mirage that keeps us chasing after it, never letting us reach it. But what if there's more to life than just chasing this elusive perfection? Meet John Doe, an ordinary individual caught in the whirlwind of societal expectations. John, like many of us, was raised in a world that idolizes perfection. From the earliest days of his childhood, he was told that to be successful, he must be perfect. As he grew older, this message was reinforced by every facet of society, from the media to his peers, from his teachers to his employers. John was a diligent individual, always striving to meet these high standards. He studied hard, worked tirelessly, and tried to maintain a flawless image. But behind this facade of perfection, John was struggling. He was constantly stressed, feeling as though he was running on a treadmill that was always speeding up, never slowing down. The pressure to be perfect was taking a toll on his mental health. He was anxious, exhausted, and increasingly isolated, his self-worth tied to an unattainable ideal. But John, like so many of us, didn't realize the harm he was inflicting upon himself. He didn't recognize the signs of burnout until it was too late. He pushed himself to the brink, convinced that he could reach perfection if he just tried a little harder, worked a little longer. But no matter how hard he tried, there was always something more to be done, another goal to achieve, another expectation to meet. In his relentless pursuit of perfection, John lost sight of who he was. He forgot about his passions, his dreams, his happiness. He was so focused on pleasing others that he neglected his own needs. And in the end, he was left feeling empty, lost, and utterly alone. John's story is not unique. It's a reflection of the struggles faced by many among us. The pressure to be perfect can be overwhelming, and it's easy to lose ourselves in the pursuit of an impossible ideal. But it's important to remember that it's okay to be imperfect, to make mistakes, to be human, because in the end, our imperfections are what make us unique, what make us real, what make us who we are. But then, a turning point arrived in John's life that made him question everything. In the midst of the hustle and bustle, the constant striving for perfection, John found himself standing at the precipice of a profound realization. The relentless pursuit of perfection, he discovered, was not only futile but also a source of his own suffering. The perpetual race, the ceaseless striving, had left him exhausted, unfulfilled, and disconnected from his own self. John began to question the societal norms that had been ingrained in him. He pondered over the unyielding standards of perfection that he had been raised to chase. The more he reflected, the more he realized how these expectations had shaped his life, his choices, and ultimately, his happiness. He was living a life dictated by society's blueprint, not his own. This epiphany was the dawn of John's journey towards self-awareness. It was a profound turning point that led him to question the very fabric of his existence. He began to understand that he had been equating his worth with societal standards of perfection, a yardstick that was constantly shifting and impossible to meet. John realized that true happiness and fulfillment lay not in the pursuit of perfection, but in the acceptance of his own unique self, with all its flaws and imperfections. He began to understand that it was okay to be vulnerable, to make mistakes, to be less than perfect. It was his imperfections, after all, that made him human, that made him unique, that made him John. This newfound self-awareness was the beginning of John's path towards self-acceptance. He decided that it was time to break free from the shackles of societal expectations, to embrace his own individuality, to celebrate his imperfections. John chose to be kind to himself, to practice self-compassion, to accept himself as he was, not as society wanted him to be. He realized that he was enough, just as he was, and that realization was liberating. This was the moment when John decided to break free from the chains of societal expectations. John discovered the power of embracing his imperfections. John's journey towards self-acceptance wasn't a straight road. It was a path filled with twists and turns, valleys and peaks, shadows and light. It was a journey that took him deep within himself, to the very core of his being. As he began to peel back the layers of societal expectations and self-imposed standards, he found an inner landscape marred by imperfections. But instead of recoiling from these flaws, he leaned into them, embracing them as integral parts of his identity. John learned to love his imperfections. The scar on his cheek, a reminder of a childhood accident, became a symbol of resilience. The stutter that made him self-conscious became a unique rhythm that added depth to his voice. The anxiety that once held him hostage transformed into a powerful tool for empathy, enabling him to connect deeply with others. This shift in perspective didn't happen overnight. It was a slow and steady process requiring patience, courage, and a great deal of self-compassion. John learned to replace negative self-talk with positive affirmations. He began to see the beauty in his imperfections, to appreciate the uniqueness they brought to his existence. And with this newfound self-acceptance came a profound change in John's mental health. He was no longer plagued by the stress of striving for an unattainable ideal of perfection. He found peace in his imperfections, a sense of wholeness in his flaws. The world didn't change, but John's perception of it did. He began to see the world not as a stage for perfection, but as a canvas for authenticity, a place where every flaw, every imperfection is a stroke of beauty, adding depth and complexity to the masterpiece of human existence. John's journey was not just about accepting his imperfections, but about celebrating them, about finding strength in vulnerability and power in authenticity. It was about understanding that imperfections are not shortcomings, but rather they are what make us uniquely human, what make us real. John's journey is a testament to the power of self-acceptance and the beauty of being imperfect. So, what can we learn from John's story? John's journey is a mirror that reflects the reality of our own struggles. It reminds us that the quest for perfection, more often than not, leads to a dead end. The societal pressure to be perfect is a heavy burden to bear, and it's high time we shed it. John's story underlines the importance of self-acceptance. It's about acknowledging our flaws, our failures, and our fears. It's about embracing the fact that we are a work in progress, constantly evolving, perpetually learning. Self-acceptance is not a destination, but a journey. And on this journey, we need to challenge the societal norms that dictate what perfection should look like. Imperfection, my friends, is not a weakness, but a strength. It's what makes us unique. It's what makes us human. It's what makes us real. And in this world that's obsessed with perfection, being real is a revolutionary act. And how do we start this revolution? By embracing our imperfections, by being kind to ourselves, by practicing self-compassion. When you look in the mirror and find something you don't like, remind yourself, I am enough just as I am. When you stumble and fall, tell yourself, I am learning and growing. When you feel overwhelmed, say to yourself, I am doing the best I can. These affirmations are not just words, they're powerful tools that can help you on your journey towards self-acceptance. They're your armor against the world that wants you to be perfect. But remember, perfection is not the goal. The goal is to be real, to be authentic, to be you. Because you, with all your flaws and all your imperfections, are beautiful. So let's embrace our imperfections. Let's celebrate our uniqueness. Let's be proud of who we are, not in spite of our flaws, but because of them. Remember, perfection is an illusion, but our imperfections make us human, and that's what truly matters. If you've been touched by John's story and have found resonance with his journey towards self-acceptance, we invite you to join this conversation. Share your own experiences with societal pressures, perfectionism, and the liberating power of embracing your imperfections in the comments below. Your stories matter, and they could be the beacon of hope someone else needs. Remember, we're all in this together, each of us navigating our own unique paths towards self-acceptance. If you want to be part of a community that celebrates authenticity and cherishes the beauty of imperfection, hit that subscribe button. Join us as we delve deeper into the stories that make us human, the stories that remind us of our shared struggles and triumphs, the stories that inspire us to be kinder to ourselves and to each other. Your subscription is not just a click, it's a statement. A statement that you choose to stand against societal pressures, that you choose to embrace your unique self, that you choose authenticity over perfection. It's a statement that you're ready to start your own revolution of self-acceptance. Thank you for being here, for being part of this journey. Your support helps us create more videos like this, touching more lives and sparking more conversations. So till our next story, remember, you, with all your beautiful imperfections, are enough. And that's the most perfect thing there is.